things off at the annual conference, which is Professor Ramaswamy, who has been very closely associated with the World Without GNE Myopathy. He's a trustee of World Without GNE Myopathy, but he's also a very respected scientist and physicist. He was formerly at JNU and then at IIT Delhi. So without further ado, over to you, Professor Ramaswamy.
Thank you very much, Shilpi. And let me add my words of welcome to everybody who is here today. I think it is incredible that we are having the 6th annual meeting today. And this should sort of even underscore how unique an organization WWGM is. I mean, my own personal journey on even knowing about GNE myopathy and the need for voices to come out for it is not very old. I've been in on WWGM right from the beginning and seen just the amount of incredible work that all the Bhattacharyas, Shilpi, Sudha, and Alok have put into making this this foundation what it is able to do today. My own, one of the things that is, I think, very important about WWGM is an event like this, where it focuses on two things. One is the outreach, and the other part is the scientific research aspect to it. And that's what makes it a very unique organization. Giving a lot of outreach is not that uncommon. There are many diseases for which there are, awareness groups, support groups, and so on. But in our country, particularly, the sort of realization that without research we are not going to make any major difference is very it's not a widespread feeling. And when it comes to rare diseases in particular, and especially when you're part of the developing world, this is like a double blow. I mean, since we are part of the developing world, there is the common wisdom that, there are more important things to be thought about and there are more important problems to try and solve. But that is not, that is some statistic somewhere, that is not the reality. Because we are part of the developing world also, there is very little original drugs and drug formulations that are developed over here. Even just a few minutes ago, the conversation was going on whether one can import a particular drug or not import a particular drug. But the lack of resources is something that really highlights the problems of having rare diseases in, when you're part of the global south. That also, having said that, there is also an opportunity because the kinds of solutions that we can come up with and the kind of interactions that you can have in countries like ours is at another level completely. And I cannot be more admiring of my colleagues, Alok and Sudha Bhattacharya. We all taught at JNU together for many years of overlap when we were there. But, I cannot admire them more where, given a challenge, they essentially retooled themselves and changed around, not only to just have more research in their own laboratories, but also to build the group that we see around us today, a group of individuals who can work on this disease and who will work on this disease by raising awareness, by raising money, and basically by building a community. The proof of everything is, of course, in the pudding is in the eating and so on. But the proof of the use that WWGM is and the effect that it has on our communities, both of the scientist community, the academic scientists, the clinical scientist, and the end user, the patients. I think that the impact of an organization like WWGM is tremendous, and I can only expect many nice things to keep happening in the years to come. So here, let me stop a moment now and wish you all a very happy and useful conference. I would also like at some point in time that the papers presented at this conference should find their way into the public literature, either in the form of journal articles or even as the form of a report which is put up on the WWGM website, even if the abstracts and the sort of a summary of what the basic thing is, if it comes out onto the website, I mean, I know how much I enjoy reading the blogs that are there. I think that a lot of patients will find a lot of strength in the reports of the papers, just a summary of that. So, leaving you with this additional task, Shilpi, as if you don't have enough to do already. But I would request all the speakers today to at least send in a paragraph or two, because this, I think, will really encourage everybody, the end users, as well as the trustees of WWGM and all those who happen to come to the website. So with this, let me wish you all the very best for this conference and speed you on your way.
Thank you very much for that very warm welcome address, Professor Ramaswamy. And we will definitely, at every conference, we have a conference summary for the patients. And we will definitely do like a sort of a easier summary of the scientific and medical discussion for a layperson at the end of this, which my mother
No,
will.
I thought it would really encourage anybody who comes in, to know what kind of progress we are making. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Cheers and all the best.
Thank you so much. So
Yeah.
next we have Professor Alok Bhattacharya, Managing Trustee of WWGM and Professor at Ashoka University, who will be giving a brief overview of the activities of WWGM.
Let's see. Sharing. Can you see the slides?
Yes. But can you make it full screen?
Yeah. So thank you, Ram, for these words, and definitely we'll make a summary of this and put it up on the website that we do. And I'll also sort of definitely we want to take it forward, and I think everybody who's here today have that commitment that they want to take whatever they're presenting forward till it reaches the patients. We want to thank all the speakers and all the participants for making this program a viable one and also a successful one. So I'm just going to talk about World Without GNE Myopathy. It was set up in June 2015 as a patient support and advocacy group. Essentially, our mission was to generate awareness of GNE myopathy among patients. As Professor Ramaswamy was talking about, large number of patient organization actually work on this raising awareness issue, and we wanted to be a bit different, and being ourselves scientists and particularly biologists. So we thought that we'll accelerate one of the goals will be to accelerate development of a therapy for GNE myopathy and make the therapy available and accessible to all patients. These are our major goals, and then of course provide support to patients for leading a fulfilling and safe life. So giving this goal in mind, we have been working for the last 8-9 years along this, and we are ably supported by a board of trustees. We have various kind of people. You heard Professor Ramaswamy, who has been one of the topmost scientists of the country, president of Indian Academy of Science, vice chancellor of Hyderabad University, etc. And then we have Mr. K.K. Rai, who is a Supreme Court lawyer, Mr. Janak Nabar, who is a management expert, runs an organization, and Kalani Menon Sen, who is a lot of experience in social work, and you heard Shilpi talking about it, a patient as well as a lawyer. And Sudha Bhattacharya is, of course, all of you know, is a biomedical scientist. So we have a very good board, very supportive board that helps us run this. So as he said that our major activities in multiple fronts, raising awareness of GNE myopathy in particular, and of course, rare genetic disorders in general, we have been doing it. And thanks to some of the clinicians that are there, you will see them, Professor Nalini and Dr. Khadilkar, Dr. Vishnu, and other, Dr. Desai. All of these people are really helping to reach out to patients. I mean, 10 years back, not many people knew about GNE myopathy. Today, it is getting diagnosed in even smaller places, thanks to some of the pioneering work done by other clinicians, senior clinicians, as well as some of the activities that WWGM has been doing. People are aware of GNE myopathy. We provide support to patients and their families. And of course, our major activity is supporting research to find cure treatment for GNE myopathy. And we also work with the government as far as possible, formulating policies that will support production and availability of drugs. And this is some area that we are trying to push for policies that will really help in local production of drugs. I have been, and our organization has been pushing for this for quite some time, that we have to make these drugs in India. So there are many activities that relate to the raising awareness. Website is one. And this website is where most of the GNE myopathy patients go for the first time. We are getting a lot of hits, and the number of new hits in a year is roughly around 2,100 or so. It should go up more, but given the rarity of GNE myopathy, I think it gives a good idea, but I think it should go up to at least 5,000, if not more. Shilpi carried out a month-long campaign in last few years to spread the idea of rare diseases and what is the rare diseases. And this is done in the month of February. And as you know, the 28th of the February is the International Rare Disease Day. And almost every day they come up with something, and they're quite popular. And this year they did something new. They came out with some cartoons, and there's, again, they have been very popular about it. WWGM participates. I mean, one of the ways that we work with a small organization. So we work by participating, organizing meetings, attending conferences, talking about rare genetic disorders, GNE myopathy, a large number of them that we have done. I mean, for example, with the drug company Akums, we have been pushing them they actually manufacture drugs. So we have been pushing them to make drugs in India. We visited their place, organized an online meeting, and then follow them up with it. Then, along with the Tata Institute of Genetics and Society, who are our, big collaborators and with whom we have MOU, we organize a meeting on rare genetic disorder drug trial, how to conduct trial in February. And again, we are going to come up with a meeting in May where we talk about details of how to do clinical trials for rare diseases, because there's a challenge for conducting clinical trial to do that. We participated in events that happened in Infosys Foundation last year, Rare Disease Day. And like that, they've given talks about GNE myopathy, rare diseases, large number of them, almost 15, 20 such events that we have participated in various places. Even we go to other organizations who are working on different rare diseases, and then we talk about how to boost. I mean, most of the time, both Sudha and I have been talking about how to boost research in this country on different rare diseases and see whether we can develop therapies based on the research that is done. WGM played a big role in assisting Indian Academy of Science. They publish a journal called Journal of Bioscience. This is the highest impact biology journal from this country. And we came out with a special issue on rare genetic disease research landscape in India. And this was published with a big event last year around the Rare Disease Day. And large number of people, in fact, large number of speakers today, they were actually authors of the papers there. Shilpi runs a WhatsApp group, a large, and this is a very, very active group of the patients. Currently, there are 150 members in India and of course around the world. And this group provides support, new information, diagnosis, treatment, what is going on around, and very, very helpful for the patient to it. It's also very good for us because when we started on this natural history study, this WhatsApp group really helped us to convey the messages that we have. Other very important area Professor Ramaswamy also mentioned is that there's the blogs that Sudha Bhattacharya is coming out with. Our website has this series of blogs on different genetic diseases and also the people who are the patients and other people who are partly involved in it. And she writes stories which has both human angle as well as science. So that people can understand what diseases are and how people have actually gone about taking care of those. So, and these are very popular diseases. The last one was on Pompe's disease, just came out a few days back. We interact with government agencies, Ministry of Health, and we are trying to get them to list our disease into, right now it's not there in their policy document. And this is what I was talking with Dr. Nalini before the meeting started. And they've accepted our letter and suggested a way how to do that. And that's something, the process going on, and we'll hopefully be able to do that very soon. And W is also working with clinicians proposing other molecules. In fact, ICMR is coming out with ideas of making some of the molecules which are easier to make and which may have an effect in GNE myopathy. And we have actually put forward a proposal for urolithin A as well as 6-silyl lactose as a possible. And I think they have accepted a proposal. The formal letter has not been obtained. If this is supported by ICMR, then we would be able to do a clinical trial in India on these things. And that's a big event because ICMR is very keen to do that. They think GNE myopathy, it could be done if the molecules are really available. Then we should be able to make these molecules in India and make it much more cheaper. So what are the other efforts that's going on to support? We are supporting research and towards development of treatment. We are also developing guidelines, policies, as I said, how to conduct clinical trials once we have molecules. To do that, we want CDSCO, the drug controller, to make the policies in a way that that is easier for a rare disease to actually conduct and get approval for it. And we, of course, working with scientists, clinicians to do that. Professor Nalini is one of them. And Dr. Rakesh Mishra and his organization TIGS is really the other one. Dr. Rajesh is also here with whom we are actively working on this. We are, of course, seeking other funds to do research. Recently, about a year back, we got a major funding support from Ratan Tata Endowment Fund and for natural history studies in collaboration with NIMHANS and TIGS, Tata Institute. Total funding is not much, but this is the preliminary funding, and I think and was given for 2 years. We are asking to increase it to 3 years, and I think they will do that, and also they will probably increase the funding as and when we feel the need of it, and we can justify to them. We have supported research projects, very small grants to TIGS itself, as well as to so that they can initiate the research. We don't have that kind of funding to eventually find cure. We just can give money so that people can just start the work on GNE myopathy. And we have also given to CSIR IGIB, to Professor Munia Ganguly's lab, to carry out some research on non-viral gene therapy. You would be hearing their work in this symposium. And TIGS, as Tata Institute of Genetic Society, has just recently got a major funding support from ICMR, and it includes 3 diseases: GNE myopathy, Pompe, and DMD, and this is for developing a messenger RNA-based therapy, and we'll be hearing some data from them. WWGM operates on a shoestring budget with no overhead and salary expenses, and a bulk of funding is through donation by trustees, patients, and friends. So we need to actually raise funding, and that's where many of you can actually help. Patients and their relatives can really help us raise more money so that we can support more research, other activities that actually finally lead to having a drug, approved drug. We thank you for your support.
Thank you so much for that overview of World Without GNE Myopathy and its activities. Now I would like to invite Dr. Nalini. I don't think Dr. Nalini needs any introduction because I think almost everyone here knows her. She's a very senior neurologist and professor and head of the Department of Neurology at NIMHANS. Over to you, Dr. Nalini.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll just start the screen sharing and then I will.
So Dr. Nalini, you have 15 minutes so that we can keep some time for questions.
Oh yeah, of course. So thank you very much, and Professor Alok and Professor Ramaswamy, Madam Sudha and Shilpi, thank you for inviting me here. And it's really always very overwhelming to be part of this excellent group, and of course, patient advocacy group, I would say, taking this rare disorders forward with research and ultimately trying to get a cure. And we all hope that along with you all, we take this journey forward, and hopefully we reach the goal of identifying a treatment for this very special disease, I would call. It's not the routine disorders that we see where only gene therapy may work, but of course here there is something to do with salic acid pathway, and whether something would come up in the near future, and that's the real promise that we are all looking forward to. So, of course, there are many speakers after me. We are going to talk about the latest developments in GNE myopathy, but I would just like to go ahead and thank all these contributors. Of course, I had been with Professor Nunaka. So me being the first speaker and opening batsman, I thought that I talk a bit about how we really went about identifying this disease in India for the first time, and the several cases and tens or hundreds of cases that were missed before 2006 when we first identified the GNE myopathy clinically and pathologically confirmed cases. So I did work with Professor Nonaka in 2003 and Professor Nishino, who really taught me and took me forward in this rare disease and other rare muscle diseases. And later on, of course, I've been associated with your team and my colleague Sina. Kiran and Preeti did a lot of work on GNE myopathy, and the very initial genetically confirmed cases was from Professor Nonaka and Nishino's lab, that they really helped us to confirm our cases. And because nobody believed that we were describing GNE myopathy. Now with the name, or distal myopathy with rimmed vacuoles, way back 20 years ago that we were talking about, and they wouldn't believe that this myopathy existed in India till we really got this genetically confirmed. So I thank every single contributor internationally and nationally and locally who have been part of this journey. So we run the neuromuscular genetic disorder clinic from 1991, and we have registered more than 10,000 cases. Actually, you can see the various specialists who have been part of this team, and GNE myopathy patients who regularly attend our clinic have really been benefited from this multidisciplinary care. So just to start off, we all know that it's a very rare disease, and it's a very peculiar clinical features that when the patient walks into our OPD room, we almost are sure that we're dealing with the case of GNE myopathy. And this is over the years that we have learned to, there is sort of become a spotter for us who have seen hundreds of cases. So we know that the highest rates are reported in Persian Jewish community, Japan, UK, and Northern Ireland. And in the Roma population in Bulgaria, where you can see the incidence is almost 1 in 500 births. So the number would be very high. The global prevalence is about 0.4 to 2.1 per 100,000. And we all know that generally the onset is in late second or third decade, but usually mean age is around 25 to 26 in our large group. And generally the disease starts with foot drop, followed by the weakness of the lower limb proximal muscles, then the upper limb distal and the upper limb proximal. So it's got a very peculiar pattern of muscle involvement and peculiar, almost a very unique pattern of muscle involvement. So the sternocleidomastoids are also wasted, and characteristically the quadriceps is spared even in advanced stage, and even when the patient is almost bedridden, the quadriceps muscle is quite powerful. And generally, the loss of ambulation occurs within 10 to 20 years from the onset. So currently, the status in India is that we had done tens of biopsies to look for the rimmed vacuoles, but now it's straight away a genetic testing. And we all know that whole exome sequencing has become so economically available and affordable for our patients that we do whole exome sequencing, and invariably we get the mutation identified if our clinical diagnosis and phenotyping is correct. So currently, we do not routinely do muscle biopsies, which classically shows the rimmed vacuoles and the tubulofilamentous inclusions without evidence of inflammation. So we all know that it's caused by a defect in the GNE gene, which is responsible for a step in the production of a sugar called sialic acid. And the defect in this gene disrupts the functioning of the sialic acid metabolic pathway and interferes with normal muscle functioning. And so if we understand the underlying defect, and this can allow for the development of targeted therapeutic strategies. And you can see this is the sort of the sialic acid pathway, which I have just put up. So the treatment strategies is what everybody is looking forward to, both clinicians, scientists, and the patients, of course, and which can actually either stall the progression of the disease or recover the disease process. So providing precursors of the sialic acid biosynthetic pathway or restoring the UDP, GLNAC, 2 epimerase and MANAC kinase. We all know that a lot of studies have happened, and we look forward for some good results in the future also. And we also know that studies on murine models have been conducted for the silation increasing therapies. We are all waiting with bated breath so that our patients get the best treatment. So the first report came from NIMHANS way back in 2010. 2006 was the first breakthrough where we clinically diagnosed a patient with GNE myopathy. And as I said, we've been missing all these cases. And the mean age that we saw in these patients, these are not genetically confirmed cases, were on 27, and the mean duration was already 6.7 years when we saw these patients. So consanguinity, as seen in southern Indian population, it's about 30% that was seen also in this patient. So classically, what do we see? We see these patients with foot drop. There's a wasting of the tibialis anterior muscle, whereas the gastrocnemius muscle is quite well preserved. They have wasting of these forearm muscles. The small muscles are quite well preserved, but the long flexors, you can see this patient is almost 26 years into his symptom, and he was walking with support with an onset at 26 years. And he was 45 years when we saw him, and we got his genetic confirmation from Japan. So this told us that some of them had a very milder form, and most of them had milder forms, and some had a more rapidly evolving disease. And then later on, we tried to look at the genetic manifestations. If this video plays, so this is a very, see, you can see that we used to do tibialis anterior biopsy very routinely. His upper limbs are quite good, and he's a young man. And let's just move faster. For we can see that he's got a foot drop. His great toe, he's unable to dorsiflex it well, and plantar flexion is quite good in these patients. And if you see him walk, it's a very classical gait that these patients have when they walk into the OPD. And again, I'm showing you the wasting of the tibialis anterior muscle, and you can see his walk. He's got a foot drop gait, and his quadriceps, you can see, is very, very well preserved. Hamstring is slightly wasted. The gastroc is well preserved. He's got a foot drop gait, and a bit of a abduction of the hip, which is very classical. So they do have high stepping gait, a waddling gait, you can see, and the adductors are very weak, so they have a bit of an abduction while walking. So this is very classical that we see in a GNE myopathy patient when they come to our OPD and when we examine them. So we found that very classically, these patients have early onset of weakness of the long flexors. And if you see, even then, the index is the first finger to become more weak. So the flexor digitorum profundus, the muscle, we really don't know where it's going to take us, that we have found this feature in our patients very, very early. And when we just ask them to make a fist, and we see that the index finger and the middle finger is much weaker than the fourth and the fifth fingers. So that really gives us a clue that these patients have GNE myopathy, which can compare us with the other distal myopathies. So way back, we were doing a lot of muscle MRIs, which is very, very important. And now Dr. Sina will talk about the serial muscle assessment. And this is the classical picture of the muscle biopsy, which shows this rimmed vacuoles in them, which was a pathological marker along with the clinical features, because this can be seen in many disorders. And this is the first paper that we wrote up based on clinico-pathological features. So I won't go much into the details. As you can see, this was around between 2006 from our first case to 2020 that we saw. The mean age is around 26, but many of them presented around 33 years. So there was a long time gap to the diagnosis, which we actually should reduce dramatically if there is any drug trial which is going to come up, or there's any drug which has to be given for these patients. We have to catch them very early. So as you can see, it's been almost 6 to 7 years mean duration of illness by the time they come to us. So the disease has already evolved, and there's a lot of muscle loss. So we really have to have awareness among neurologists and also among neuromuscular specialists to identify these cases pretty early and get a genetic diagnosis and have them trial ready for any new drug that's going to come up in the near future in India, which is likely to happen. So as you can see, we did a follow-up and a physical and telephonic follow-up after the mean of 8 years. And we saw that about 26 of them were wheelchair bound at the end of 1 to 14 years. So some of them are very early, and some of them at the end of 14 years had lost ambulation. And time to loss of ambulation was around 8.2 years, with a range again from 5 to 25 years. So they were slow progressors as well as rapid progressors. So this is another sign that we really described for the first time in GNE myopathy called Beaver's sign, and why the lower abdominal muscles are much more weaker. As you can see in the MRI, the lower abdominal muscles are almost replaced by fat, whereas the upper ones, this black or the isointense ones, are the upper abdominal muscles. So we really don't know, but these were the findings that we observed in our patients. So we put our cases together and got the first genetic mutations from Japan, and we wrote up this paper. And again, as you can see, this is the formal reports that we got from Japan, and the common mutation, as you can see, with the old nomenclature of VAL 6962 met change was what was identified. So this again with the Japanese group, they had found that the missing genetic variations in certain patients, only heterozygous was at one het mutation was identified. And then they went ahead and did the CNVs and found that there were large deletions over there. And this was also published. So common mutations, we know that this is a founder mutation of C.2179 G2A reported well by Professor Alok and group. And possibly it is the founder variant that we commonly see in all our patients. And we continue to see the same mutation. So among our large series, the majority were from Karnataka, but we had from all of the states, as you can see. And the reported variants were in 52% and the non-reported in about 48%. As you can see here, the initial symptom, as said, was foot drop, and then the mobility status at presentation was that the majority were walking and self-ambulant at the mean duration of 6.2 years. So this is the common Indian founder mutation that we saw in almost more than 70%, and most of them were compound hets, very few with homozygous and single het with pathogenicity. And this is the pattern of mutation where you can see the kinase and kinase domains and the epimerase and kinase. And this is very important that based on these type of mutations, what the evolution of the disease has been in these patients. So that was a common mutation. A few of the other mutations, of course, we saw some Roma gypsy mutations, particularly from patients with origin from Rajasthan. And many of them do live in Tamil Nadu, and we got the same mutation. So the genotype-phenotype correlation, when we did, we saw that the ones with KK mutation had a very rapid progression, and they attained wheelchair bound state as compared to the epimerase kinase or the epimerase mutations, which had a little longer ambulatory period. So our very latest paper is on GNE myopathy, is the genotype-phenotype correlation. Nothing great. It's almost the same findings that we had, but we put up this large paper together and got it in the Journal of Neuromuscular Disorders. And you can see the same founder variant is identified in this group of patients also. And we saw that the biallelic kinase domain variations predisposed to more severe phenotype. And wheelchair-bound state was noted in about 8.9%. So we've been trying to do really a lot of clinical work on these patients and also the genetic confirmation and trying to see how well we can take this forward in the future if there are any mutation-specific or precision medicines that would come up in the future. So current status, I'm sure that the future speakers are going to catch up on that. I see that Dr. Ranjana Arya from JNU has really done a lot of work on the basic science of understanding the pathophysiology of GNE myopathy and also in the drug development. So as you can see, I just picked up from the PubMed all of her many papers, which she has been looking at the role of HSP70 chaperone in the GNE mutant cells, and also the non-viral delivery of nucleic acid for treatment in the rare diseases by Dr. Ganguly and all. And I don't think I have to go beyond what I have already told, because I'm sure Dr. Arka Ghosh and others would be catching up on this. And I'll just show you this one. So this is where Dr. Arya is trying to look at the understanding pathophysiology of GNE myopathy and current progress towards drug development. So that was what is interesting. So our scientists in India in different institutes are trying to really look into this ultra-rare disease and see how drug development can be indigenous within India, whether they can be biosimilars or repurposing of the drug, or more economically and more faster development of drugs for our patients. So many therapeutic avenues are being explored, including supplementation with sialic acid derivatives or precursors and gene therapy, as I have just put up the gist over here. So this is another study by Dr. Arya herself, and where they want to look at the alternate role of GNE in various cellular processes, such as cell adhesion, migration, apoptosis, protein aggregation. And all this is really trying to take forward for some target which can be identified so that the drug can be target related and available for GNE myopathy patients. So again, this goes on and on with functional comparison of GNE mutations, which will help in better understanding of the genotypic severity among Indians. So it's very important that we have natural history studies from our own India, and because we are ethnically different, we are genetically different, and if we have to find a drug treatment which can suit our patients, it is within India that we really have to take this forward. So this group, particularly of Dr. Ranjana Arya and Professor Alok and team, are really looking towards possible therapeutic trial focusing on supplementation also with salicylic acid, MANAC, and the gene therapy, which can slow down the disease progress. And very lately, it's been what the effect of small molecules can do in GNE myopathy, and particularly they've been looking at the GNE heterozygous knockout L6 rat skeletal muscle cell lines, which possibly can offer small molecule therapy in GNE myopathy. So they've also shown that CGA recovered epimerase activity by almost in 49% of the effect in assembly by 132%. And these are the basic science works is really being done by this group from JNU, which can lead to identification of a true biochemical pathway or cellular pathway for ultimate treatment identification. I'm sure Dr. Vishnu is there online here, and this is the latest abstract from the ICGNMD data, which was presented in the Neuromuscular Disorders Abstract book. And they saw 47 patients from the North Indian population, which was not was the most common one, which is similar finding as the Asian population. So the whole of India possibly has a similar founder variant, that is the 2179. So just the last few minutes and the challenges and road ahead. Despite the progress, we know that Dr. Alok gave a very nice picture about what's going on with GNE myopathy, that we really reached the rural population also. But I think that more people, neurologists and neurovascular specialists, need to take this forward. And challenges remain in the area of research. Funding, of course, as Sir said, we have to really garner some good funders like Ratan Tata Trust and somebody else also. And we need to have large cohorts. Of course, we have 150 and odd cases, but that's not enough for us to really have large scale studies or for clinical trials. And so we really need to have Dr. Alok and team, sir, please have a national registry for GNE myopathy, like Remedy in Japan, so that all GNE myopathies in the country can be registered on online portal and it should be free. I think that we should really look forward to have a in Indian GNE registry so that we have large cohorts in the near future for any drug trial. And of course, infrastructure is always an issue. And much research is not there. It's relatively limited, but it's growing over the past decade. And efforts are directed to both understanding the genetic basis of the disease and exploring potential therapies, as I already enlisted. Of course, the time was short, and we'll have the future speakers to speak on that. And several researchers in India, and we as clinicians, our team in LIMHANS and AIMS and other places, Dr. Khadilkar from Mumbai, really doing our best to gather patients, clinically characterize them, genetically characterize them, and also look at the natural history soon. So to conclude, we are making significant strides in the genetic understanding of GNE myopathy. We're actively working to identify mutations that are prevalent in Indian populations. And given the genetic diversity of India, there are unique mutations and needs further studies. As of now, we do not have a natural history database as yet, but of course, we are in the process of creating a natural history database at NIMHANS. But if it is multicentric, it would be much better so that we have this natural history from different parts of the country. And awareness is already being created, but needs much more patient advocacy groups. And support systems or support networks are very, very essential. And I think Shilpi is doing a great job with that. And finally, India has a potential to make significant contributions to the global understanding and treatment of GNE myopathy. And we all wish and hope that in this lifetime of ours, that quickly we will find a treatment for all of these patients. And thanks once again, Professor Alok, Shilpi, and Madam and team for inviting me and giving me the first talk in this very prestigious meeting. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nalini. That was really informative, even I think for people who know a lot about GNE, that was things that we don't really know. So that's wonderful. Now we have Dr. Nalini here with us, and I'm sure a lot of you have questions. But we don't have that much time, so I'll take a couple of questions, but I'm going to give first priority to patients. So if patients, any of you have questions, please raise your hand. I am going to not give my mother the chance to ask a question. I'm going to give others the chance. Okay, so first question, Dr. Nalini, and maybe you can answer some of these on the chat if you have time. Also, people, if you're available for a few minutes after this, then people can put in, if they have other questions, they can maybe put it on the chat as well. So, and my mother has a question which maybe you could answer on the chat. So, Sachin is asking, has complete cure of any other muscular dystrophy related disease come till now? Is complete reversal cure of GNE possible even after significant progression?
Yeah, I have read that already. Unfortunately, for the genetically mediated muscular dystrophies like Duchenne or dysferlin or limb-girdle muscular dystrophies, till date, there is no cure at all, and that includes GNE myopathy as well. So I think by the end of all of this research, gene therapy is something that should really come up, or CRISPR-Cas9 mediated therapy, which possibly would be the ultimate way to have a cure for all muscular dystrophies. If it is cracked in one muscular dystrophy, possibly it can be replicated in others, because all of them are mutation-related disorders. And this is what I know as of now. Unfortunately, there is no cure for any of the dystrophy. And the second question by Pallavi, should I say thanks for all this? Meanwhile, drugs come. What do you suggest to patient to sustain? So, Ms. Pallavi, I think that a lot of things has been done in GNE myopathy. You know that the most important thing is to keep the patients physically active and retain their muscle power by some very specific muscle exercises. The muscles which are weak, you need to strengthen them. And of course, a good neuro rehabilitation specialist or an occupational therapist can help you out with that, because most of it is physical disability in GNE myopathy. So till then, it has to be only supportive care. And I would suggest that you contact a good neuro rehabilitation specialist for your maintaining your muscle strength for as long as you can. So I think I saw only those two, Shilpi. And I will try to respond on the chat if there's any further ones. Okay.
Just one last one. Neetu's asking whether mutation in both kinase and epimerase, which will work more with respect to MANAC or 6SL or sialic acid. If anyone has mutation.
I should confess that I really do not know the answer. Maybe I should read about it. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Dr. Nalini. We know how busy you are, so thank you so much for taking this time, and it was really informative. So now I will move on to our next speaker, who also we are extremely lucky to have, because he's a very busy man, Dr. Rakesh Mishra, who's the director at Tata Institute of Genetics and Society TIGS. Who will be telling us about the work that his institution is doing with respect to rare diseases and GNE myopathy. I leave the floor to you.
Thank you, Shilpi, for conducting this meeting and inviting me. Thank you, Alok, for setting this up, and it's very, very important that we meet and even if it's online, and discuss and exchange notes. I'm not going to show PowerPoint, and I'm going to just briefly explain what TIGS is doing, which will also reflect the commitment of TIGS to try its best to make as soon as possible the fruits of science reach patients. We have no other agenda except that. And I'm going to summarize what kinds of things we are doing in rare genetic disorders, and we're very happy to take your comments, because that will be very useful. I must acknowledge that this kind of audience like Alok, Nalini, and the patient groups and individuals like Shilpi and all are actually the motivation for us to do what we are doing at TIGS. And I think we are making very good progress, which I'm really very excited, and I'm sure you guys will also get excited when Rajesh will share some of the data about GNE myopathy, and we have some leads for other diseases as well. So Intex is a non-profit organization, primarily supported by Tata Trust, but we get support from other organizations, including government organizations, because our programs are very much aligned with the government programs, which is solving societal problems related to infectious diseases, rare genetic disorder, and climate resilient crops. So for the rare genetic disorders, we do several things. One is we are making a very comprehensive database which should contain every possible report that is available in whichever form from India. So this has other things which but that's not so important. But key thing is that all the published work is nicely organized. The first version of this is already available, and this can be accessed through our website also. And we'll be very happy to uh, have any input. I will come back to that in a minute. We also have a program in which we are taking targeted populations for screening and genetic counseling for certain diseases. We have programs to work on diagnostics where we think that we can make a difference to make the diagnostic fast, accurate, and affordable. And therapeutics is the one thing which we are putting a lot of effort, and Rajesh will tell something. I will come back to this in a minute. And we have very active program of outreach, which we call genetic literacy, because we think that is one way of managing the burden of this disease. And in the end, all this is possible because of the support and participation of large number of people from different aspects. It's really very motivating to see whoever you go, they are very much willing to help and contribute from their side. So coming to our database, which we call TIGS, so which is, as I said, is a comprehensive database for all Indian literature related to rare diseases. All the mutations and any other information that is available, we have put in. It's freely available to anyone. And we are already working on a second version of this, which will have modules for patients, clinicians, scientists, so they can have protected access. They can share their data, which we can share with others with their permissions and whatever conditions they put. Idea is to make patients, clinicians, and scientists reach out to one another using this platform. And then the third version of this will be interactive, where all these three groups, whether patients or clinicians or scientists, can actually put queries, interact, and we have some idea about this. We hope that will help a lot to reach at the correct point with lots of drop-down menus to help people reach the correct information and avoid being exploited, as sometime it happens, because these are very desperate situations. And any comment and suggestions will be most welcome. We're very open to that. About the diagnosis, we have taken up several challenges. One was using digital PCR technology to do diagnosis for SMA. And Cure SMA has been very cooperative in this, helping with patient samples and CDFD from Hyderabad. And Shivranjan is leading this project, and we are using saliva as the sample. And I think we have reached really the final stage, even beyond that. And this kit is really available at a very affordable cost with accurate diagnosis. Gayatri, one of our scientists, does diagnosis of imprinting related disorders, and also the pharmacogenomics for Prader-Willi, Angelman, Beckwith, Wiedemann, and silver cell syndromes. We get samples from various clinics, including the Alok, to verify and validate this. And and the pharmacogenomic data analysis. There's also a group of 13 diseases. They are called monoamine neurotransmitter-related genetic disorders, and their diagnosis is done using cerebellar fluid, using lumbar puncture, which is a terrible invasive process to collect the samples from small children. Runa Index has taken up the LCMSMS approach using dry blood spot as the sample source, and we have very encouraging results. And I think in coming months we will have a very simple assay which can be used for even prognosis, because sometimes some drugs are given to this because this will be so non-invasive method. So we are very excited that these are the solutions that we will be coming in coming months. We will be reaching to the patients. In the therapeutics, we have multiple approaches actually. So one is the mRNA therapy, which Rajesh is going to talk already. His talk is planned, so I'm not going to explain anything about it. But he's going to say about insertion of the intact mRNA to express the gene, or do in vivo gene therapy, which I think is the people's gene therapy at affordable cost. He has made tremendous progress. I guess he will show some of the data, and of course replace the ERT by mRNA therapeutic to make it really more efficient and far more affordable, to the degree that even from a middle class person can manage from their out of pocket expenditure. So that's our aim when we are working. Then we also have the cell therapy as approach, in which Vasant is working with CMC Vellore, uh, about various uh, hemoglobinopathies, and he has made many diseases disease on a dish model using the iPSC and creating mutations, or taking patient samples and setting the system in the dish, which is very useful for screening. He's doing for SMS some splice site modifiers, modulators for the SMA, and this can be used for any, including GNE myopathy. If there are small molecules, we can set this up and screen in the cell culture conditions. Suranjani has a India Alliance funded program of long-term program on pediatric ataxia, so which will be involved in diagnosis and therapeutics and all. Also, we are doing some things where we understand the disease and it is in doable range. So with the help of Tangraj and CCMB and Runa from TIGS, we are now at an advanced stage to begin targeted population level screening for epidermolysis bullosa disease that occurs in specific communities in Tamil Nadu, certain district. And their idea is to do the complete screening of the population, which is a few thousand, and then set up a NGO there who will then with local people who will then interact and keep us informed, and we can provide genetic literacy and prenatal diagnosis, and wherever required we'll support that. And we want to make a situation that no defective birth takes place, because this disease is simply disastrous. In few months babies die. And we are also targeting similar populations, which are small population of few thousands, let's say 20,000-30,000 or something of this kind, which is doable, because we can't go at very large scale, but we want to set up a model which then we can push for government to take over and implement at a large national scale. So in Jammu and Kashmir, we have identified 3 such diseases which are in very defined region, and where for some of them mutations are known, to set up this kind of screening, and then followed by counseling and managing with the help of local population. So these are our technical work, and then Savita, our social scientist, is very actively involved in what we call a genetic literacy, which is an outreach program to we do all kinds of available tools with us, whether it's posters, very modern kind of posters, which can be monitored and sent to places, podcast and meetings. We do every year a major event we call Redress, where we bring together clinicians, patient advocacy groups, policy makers, government agencies, ICMR is knowledge partner in that, scientists, industry partners who have interest in drugs and other interventions possible, and the people to discuss what can be done and in the context of patient. Our whole work depends on how we take the solution to society, and anything else, publication and other things are really collateral. We don't pay much importance to that. We want to waste no time in finding the solution for the patients. So as you can see, we are doing several things. Although we are very small institution, it is possible only because we have a very positive and supportive environment with whoever we have contacted. So for instance, we are located in INSTEM, so they get a tremendous support of all the infrastructure. NCBS has given a support. Our mRNA therapeutic lab is located in NCBS, and Shashidhara is very supportive and provides all help. That's how we are able to make really fast progress. Many hospitals who are partnered with us, more than 10, 12 hospitals who provide a sample, including NIMHANS with Dr. Nalini and Alok, we are doing the evolutionary history of GNE myopathy. And I think we will do that irrespective of what kind of support it comes. But it's just there is more support and finance available, we can keep increasing the scale and go faster. But I think we have now begun, so we will continue doing this. And slowly, when so many things are converging, we see the solutions coming in coming months. We see policymakers interested, as Alok pointed out, to how to take this. I'm also discussing with Raju Bahal, and also we are getting more and more information to set milestone for a potential trial that we can set up. And all this is happening because of support of people with whom we. It's really very motivating to see that everybody wants to help. It's very challenging problem, but only way to solve. And I see that we have never been in a position better than what we are in these times, that we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and how soon we reach there will depend on how closely and focused we work on. And as Alok also mentioned, we have got a tremendous support from ICMR, a Center for Advanced Research for this disease, including GNE myopathy, and we have made really very good progress in that. Some of this, as I said, Rajesh is going to tell. The most motivating thing was, I would like to share with you that Dr. Behel called me when we were discussing about this program. He called me actually a video call to tell that we should work hard to get the solutions available, and ICMR will take the lead to do the trial, which was very, very motivating for me, that somebody at that level trusts and believes in what we are doing, and also makes us really more motivated to do what we are doing. So that was, as you can see, I just wanted to give a general introduction of and overview of what we are doing. And we are all, we have made lots of progress in all the aspects that I spoke. All these programs are actually at the best 3-year-old. So you can imagine where we have reached. And I think these are possible to do because we have so much of knowledge available from clinicians like Nalini and scientists like Alok and many others, and facilities are available. With some reservation, I can say even funding is available. So I think everything is there, and we have patient in front of us. So I think all the boxes are ticked, and hopefully we will, in coming months, I'm not talking about years, in coming months, we will make really remarkable progress. So all of us will be excited. So I'll stop there, and I'll be very happy if there are any suggestions. I don't know if there are questions, I will try to answer. But if there are any suggestions, comments, very happy to take that. So thank you again, and I'm
Thank you so much, Dr.
2 minutes
Mishra.
early. Yeah.
Thank you so much. If anyone has questions, please do raise your hand or put it in the chat box. We can definitely take a couple of questions. We're well within time.
Dr. Nalini here. So which are the 3 diseases that you're targeting in Jammu Kashmir? Just curious to know.
So this is one is let me. I was actually making a PowerPoint, but then I realized that I'll not be finishing in time. So
Okay, maybe you can put it in the chat box. Yes.
No, this is one is called pseudo rheumatoid dysplasia. One is non-syndromic sensory neural hearing loss, and one is Haller-Warden-Spatz syndrome.
Haller-Warden-Spatz disease. Okay.
Yeah.
Movement disorder.
This is 21,000 people. Non-syndromal sensory neural is 2,500, and first one is 6,000 people. So we pick based on the criteria that something is known about the disease and the population is small. So that our aim is to say that once we begin, 1 year after that, there will be no defective birth. Of course, people have to follow the genetic diagnosis, counseling, and other aspects. So that's why we look for smaller, where we can project it as a model for success, which then government can replicate at a larger scale.
Very nice, sir. Thank you, sir. Excellent work being done by your group. And we're really, blessed to be part of your team and working with such passionate scientists and who continue to work towards the benefit of patients and with rare disorders. Thank you. Thank you, sir. It was nice.
No, your presence and support is so motivational to us. We depend completely on that. So thank you so much.
So, it's our pleasure, sir. It's our pleasure. Thank you.
And ultimately, nothing is possible without the collaboration. So
Correct.
I think the collaboration between you are extremely, extremely significant. And I just wanted to say how much I deeply admire and I'm inspired by your vision, Dr. Mishra, for having more affordable and accessible treatments for rare diseases and the strategic way in which you're taking that forward. As a patient, it's very significant that your institution is doing this in India for us. So thank you so much for doing it.
Thank you.
I don't see any questions, so I think we can then go on to our break, and then obviously the work that TIGS is doing will also be covered in Dr. Iyer's talk. So I think there might be questions then. So we will take a break till 4:30, and then we'll be back sharp at 4:30 for Dr. Sina's talk and then Dr. Iyer's talk.